Lost Faith monologue. Today's date is Thursday the 28th August 2025. I haven't done an entry for some time. Had other things, other priorities. Weekend just gone. Started being bombarded. Actually, it wasn't the weekend just gone. I think it was Monday. My wife spotted something on Facebook. People drawing red crosses in the middle of the white lines or the white dashes on the road markings. Red crosses, making it look like on the white dash, making it look like the cross of St. George. Some sort of sign of patriotism. This was on the road markings just out of the village where I live. Bear in mind, I live fairly rural, semi-rural I suppose. And on Facebook, you know, you've got the old people arguing from one angle or another. Some people were cheering it on, sign of patriotism. Obviously you're not allowed to be patriotic about your country, not in England anyway. It's frowned upon by the establishment and the lefty retards. People complaining and people saying, cheering it on, and you get the usual NIMBYs saying, oh, it's going to cost the taxpayers money. What, the money that was stolen from you? So I honestly just thought this was a local thing. Something had just happened locally. But I suppose I shouldn't have been surprised really when I tuned into social media feeds, well, YouTube. The algorithm was pushing this new alleged movement called, and it's got a name, Operation Raise the Colours. It's an operation. That's why it's got an operation name. It's a PSYOP. But it was being heavily pushed. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the algorithms and YouTube are sending us all of these videos and stuff about patriots putting up English flags everywhere and painting road markings, roundabouts and all the rest of it. And it's just out of nowhere. I mean, I know that things have been brewing in terms of the migrant 19 crisis, but this is just all of a sudden boom, out of nowhere. All of a sudden everybody's doing this, or certainly everybody of a certain political persuasion. That's because it's the agenda. When it comes out of nowhere and all of a sudden it's everywhere, it's the agenda. And the algorithms of YouTube think that I'm some sort of patriot, probably because when you don't buy into the mainstream media and you look for alternative things, the algorithm is very simplistic and it thinks that you're right wing, not left or right. It's all a load of bullshit. But this is, and obviously people, so somebody's done it in my local, or just outside my village, locally. So that, my suggestion for 1 second is some sort of operative. Thank you. What I'm saying is, it'll have been started and promoted from within the establishment. Thank you. And then it'll be pushed through the algorithms and through alternative media to make it look like it's a phenomena and that everybody's doing it. And then when the people who get the algorithms pushing this to them, people like who the algorithms think I am, people like that, people who are right wing, don't trust the media, don't trust the government, when they get all of this pushed to them, because they're not really awake or aware of what's actually going on, they're just pawns in the game. They see all of this repetitive content and they start to think that it's real, or that it's happening on a much bigger scale than in reality it is. And then they start to do it. They start to repeat what they see because they think their tribe is bigger than what they previously thought, and they feel safe to go and do this now because everybody's doing it. That's what the repetitive content does. It makes you think that that's the tribe, that's the majority, that's how you behave. Now it's safe to do that. Go out and paint red crosses on the road. It's now safe to do that because everybody else is. I'll have somebody who'll have me back. And that's what you saw on social media. 50-50 split. There or thereabouts. But previously, this person would have thought, no, it's just me. Everybody will condemn me. So that's what repetitive content does. It makes you think that something is happening and that it's safe to join in and that's the right thing to do. That's what the repetitive content does to your subconscious. Because subconsciously your ego, survival instincts, it's there to protect you. It's under normal circumstances, it's your ally. It doesn't want any harm to come to you. So subconsciously, and it's working away all the time, observing everything, looking out for danger and looking out for safety in your tribe. What are the tribe doing? I'll do that. Then I'll not be ostracised. And then I'll be able to get food, shelter, and reproduce. That's what it would have been back in the day. Behave like the tribe, behave for your own basic survival needs. And that was back in the day, obviously before modern civilization, if that's what you want to call us. We're not modern, we're backwards, and we're not civilised. We're Satanists in the whole. So the social engineers know how this part of the psyche works. And that's all it takes. That's why you see every news channel, every newspaper, repeat. They're all the same. So the whole tribe sees what they then believe is how the tribe are behaving. And then they'll behave like that to be safe. So this during the nonsense 2020 psyop. Repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse. Repeat, 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 repeat. That was it. That's all it takes. Nothing that is counter to the narrative. And that's all that's happened with this St. George's nonsense. I'm just getting caught in a deluge. I'm going to try and take shelter. Until it passes, I can always go in the church. If it gets worse, I'm under a tree now. Ironically, the church is called St. Michael's. St. Michael is just another version of St. George. Where was I? Repeat, repeat, repeat. So these right-wing retards, they see the repetitive content in their feed and they think, right, that's it, it's happening, it's starting. And then they go out and do it. And that's all that's happened in my local village. This situation, somebody painting the road, they've seen something and they've copied it. And they think it's safe to do so because this is happening everywhere. It's total mind control. Total mind control. It's a psyop. And it's everywhere in the alternative media. And now it's even starting to seep through into the mainstream ever so slightly. The Migrants 19 crisis. You're being played. You're being played like a fiddle, like a fool. If you think this is the people revolting, and if you think that this is grassroots and organic, then you're completely deluded. But people buy into it. They just buy into it. Yeah, I'm going to choose my side. Let's fight amongst ourselves rather than have the common enemy understood and agreed upon. And they're just... I thought the left were retarded. Totally self-loathing, authoritarian control freaks who hate freedom because they're children. They don't want freedom because with freedom becomes responsibility. They want the government to control everything about them, and they'll just get satisfaction by seeing other people suffer. That's what the lefties are. They wake up in the morning and they don't think, how am I going to make my day good? How am I going to enhance my day? How am I going to enhance my life? They think, how am I going to destroy somebody else? How am I going to make somebody else miserable? How am I going to take somebody else's freedom away? Just to feel good about myself. That's your lefties. And you're right, or just shown themselves to be just as retarded. Their development has been arrested as well. You still think the government can change this? You just think they can change it with some sort of force? You want action, and you still think, you think you can vote your way out of this. You think the country needs some sort of reform, and that there's some sort of saviour coming. And you think that this is a free country, and you also think that this is either down to incompetence, self-interests, corruption, and what have you. No, it's not. It's not down to any of that. It's a plan. It's a plan to depopulate the entire globe and replace or just move people around as I'm just walking past some cows right on my path, and replace where required. A depopulation agenda has been, well, it's been out in the open since at least the 60s. The population bomb. Look that book up. Which led to things like the Club of Rome and Limits to Growth. I can't remember the name of the other paper that came out around about the same time. And, the roots of, it's just eugenics, the roots of which go back, who knows how long. The last round of eugenics was obviously the National Socialists, but it's been around since forever. You only need to go back to Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. These are the roots, or some of the roots, of who it is. The ideas that have gotten into who it is that now runs the pantomime. In terms of the people that we can see, Planned Parenthood is about population control. Contraception is about population control, encouraging sex while encouraging sex within young people through sex education, but then everything else, sexualizing people at a younger and younger age, but they're giving them contraception and things like abortion. What that does is, well, whether it does it or not is not the point, but this is what they believe, is that it keeps the population numbers under control, because as that disgusting piece of filth Lily Allen was boasting on television the other week, that she's proud of having 5 abortions at least, and using it as a form of contraception, and she thinks it's quite romantic when the man actually offers to pay for it. It's being used as a form of contraception. But the point is, well, that's 5 abortions. Would that have been 5 children? So, the same with even just using, primitive contraception, like a balloon over your knob. Even every single time one of those is used, is that a potential child? So what you do, you encourage, because you can't discourage it. That doesn't fit with the agenda either, because they want everybody to be completely immoral and debauched. So you encourage sex, but you push contraception, and that means the population won't grow at the same rate. Obviously, it's like Catholics. It's against their religion to use contraception. They've always got, or generally speaking, have got large families. You don't want a bunch of Catholics running around. A world full of Catholics. So it's depopulation is nothing new. And obviously with the absolute BS of things like boogeyman viruses and boogeyman climate change, then you fill people with fear and you get them to do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do, like not have children for the fear of the future, and in terms of the climate nonsense, fear of the future, but also these lefty retards, they don't actually want children anyway, because they're so self-loathing and they're so traumatized, probably by their own parents, neglecting them emotionally, because they generally come from these kind of well-to-do families, upper middle class, whatever. They've never worked a day in their life because they're so self-loathing. And because of their own self-loathing, subconsciously they're saying to themselves, why the hell would I want to be a parent and put a child through what I had to go through? Because they can't comprehend that what they went through wasn't normal. So they don't want kids anyway. So what they use is, they used their own path that they've chosen to take in life for their own selfish reasons, and then they use that to sound virtuous. That's what these lefties do. That's what all these people did during the 2020 psyop. Virtue signalling. So that's the climate nonsense. And then as far as the boogeyman viruses are concerned, you get people to believe that there is nothing they can do to stay healthy, because you don't know which boogeyman is around the next corner just waiting for you to finish your Scotch egg and pounce on you. If anybody doesn't get that Scotch egg joke, do a bit of digging on the internet in terms of the UK Parliament and the debate over a Scotch egg. This is how stupid they are. Anyway, if you believe that there's nothing you can do to stay healthy, because you don't know which version of the boogeyman is around the next corner, then you can be persuaded to inject poisons under your skin in the retarded belief that that's going to make you healthy. And how many people hold that absolute retarded belief? And this is what they do. and they pump it out like it's normal. They give you a tribal programming. This is what the tribe does, I'm going to do it. You saw them queuing in 2021, queuing to poison themselves. And this is depopulation. If they want to poison you and shorten your lifespan, why do you think that is? Because they want rid of you. And if they're doing that to everybody, obviously they want rid of as many people as possible. Certainly don't want your life expectancy up. They want you in the system, and then when you're finished contributing to their system and they've stolen all of your taxes, then they want you dead so they can steal all of your assets and your property. And that's all 2021 was about speeding up the depopulation agenda. They've already got our replacements, so they think. AI. But they know that they need some gullible, weak humans to repopulate, in terms of once they get rid of all of the strong I'm going to say Slavic people or white people, and by that they were the original slaves. Slavics is where the word comes from, and they were chosen because of their strength, determination and sheer hard work. And you can see that even today when you just go to these Slavic countries, and a lot of obviously the Western world is democratized, and we value freedom. But that's what people think. They think they value freedom because they think they live in a free country where they choose their masters, and they think that taxation is moral and that it pays for the running of society. They're completely deluded. But in the main, they're willing to fight for that freedom if push comes to shove, which is what you're seeing now. And that's why they want rid of the vast majority of people that they want rid of. They'll be in these kind of Western nations, white and Slavic nations. So, where was I? Depopulation. That's all they're doing. They're killing you off. The excess death rate is constantly up. Fertility rate and replacement rate, birth rate is all down to a point where it can't recover. And they need somebody to step in who will quite happily accept the control grid, the control system that they've got planned. And in the meantime, while they're bringing these people in to replace us, then they can speed up their agendas by having civil unrest and having chaos. Because chaos is what they want. They believe that out of chaos comes order. That's what they believe. And that's why they always follow the same Hegelian dialectic. Create some chaos between two dialectics and then synthesize the desired result. More control. They want to bring in a digital ID. This will help bring that in. All you need is to convince 600, whatever it is, 650 Muppets that any new policy or legislation is a good idea. These are the easiest people to convince because they're completely retarded, delusional MPs. Every single MP is deluded because as soon as you think you can represent one person, you're deluded, let alone however many people are within your constituency. I don't want a delusional person representing me. I don't want anybody representing us, but especially not a deluded psychopath, sociopath. So it's multifaceted. One thing's for sure, it's not organic, it's an operation. It's even got a name. This is how gullible people are. And it's got your usual actors pushing it. And I saw people arguing about what the cross represents on Facebook, my local Facebook. St. George, if he was real, was Greek. That means he was an immigrant. The cross doesn't belong to St. George, you fucking retard. And I'm not sure St. George ever emigrated or immigrated into this country. And the cross has been adopted by lots of nations. It's predominantly a symbol of Christianity. St. George martyred himself in 303 AD. Now that's an interesting date, 303, because take the zero out is 33. Who else martyred themselves at the age of 33? Obviously I'm not saying St. George was 33, what I'm saying is the year is symbolic. Jesus martyred himself at the age of 33. These are Christ-like figures, martyrs, dying for Christianity, sacrificing themselves for Christianity, and that's what the cross represents. It's a Christian symbol. That's why it was used in this country. It was used by the Knights Templar as well, and on the crusade. All of this might be a bit rough around the edges, but doesn't belong to St. George, you numpty. It's a Christian cross. It's a symbol of Christianity. It's been adopted by that religion, and because we are a Christian nation. But what, it doesn't belong to Christianity either. It belongs to the Son of God. That's why it was given. That's why they associated with Jesus, because he was the Son of God. It belongs to the Son of God. Okay? As in that fucking yellow thing in the sky that brings life to earth, that resurrects as our Saviour. And thank God it does, because if it ever didn't rise, would soon be dead. It's an occult symbol, a blazing red sun cross on a white background, and it is symbolic of good versus evil, light versus dark. The sun represents light, kills the dark, and it brings life and goodness. And that's why it was adopted by St. George. And the myth of slaying the dragon is just the same, good versus evil. St. George is the sun, the dragon is evil. Dragon, Draco, Draconian is evil. And that's all that cross represents. And that's why they hate it so much. Because we are dealing with reptiles, dragons, reptiles, Satanists, and the like. And that's why they're blocking out the sun, because they know how good it is for us. And that's why they chose St. George's Day to announce it, because they're Satanists. And these people don't even know what that their own flag represents. It's an occult symbol. That's why you see it on the top of church spirals, sun cross, on top of graves. It's why the church points east, congregation points east, worshipping the rising Saviour every morning. And it's an occult symbol. The cross represents the 4 seasons and the sun's journey. More on that later. But this ancient symbol, people haven't got a clue. And what they're doing is, symbolically, they are in a spiritual war. Well, not symbolically, they are in a spiritual war. But they don't realise it. They don't realise that this is actually a battle of good versus evil. And by adopting that cross and painting it on the road signs and flying the flags from lampposts and on the windows, they're actually symbolically, they are becoming soldiers for good. Symbolically flying that flag, they are fighting evil, but they don't know that they are doing that. So the occult masters who are orchestrating everything behind the scenes through social engineering and all the tools they've got at their disposal are just laughing at them, thinking symbolically you look like you're fighting evil, but in reality you're so ignorant you haven't got a clue what you're doing, and you think you're going to solve evil and defeat evil by using the system of voting, politics, or any other element of the completely corrupt, immoral and illegitimate system. This is more occult mockery. I think that's all I've got to say for today. Yeah.